That is always the first challenge that they report to Parliament every year. Last year, by now, I mean, in November, when WAEC appeared before Parliament, government was owing WAEC about 122 million Ghana cedis. This year, the situation is not too different. It was about 116 or so until the last 25 was paid last week or so. And so there's a systemic issue, which is cash flow. We need to reset the cash flow mechanism so that we finance WAEC at the point that they need the money to expedite work on WASI, and also such that WAEC is able to have the needed resources they need to invest to reduce examination malpractices, if not eliminated at all, after all.
So out of the 108,
welcome. This is our big story segment on the AM show. We take a look at the West African Examination Council. We know that they've released the provisional results of the 2024 West African Senior High School Certificate Examination. It's coming very late, but and that's because of some monies that were owed to them. We'll get into the details shortly. But the council has also cancelled subject results for 4,108 candidates. They've annulled the entire result of 483 candidates, withheld subject result for 781 candidates, and again withheld the entire result of 209 candidates. Why is this really happening? The council is also investigating additional cases and have assured the public that appropriate actions will be taken once the investigations are complete. Now let's hear from our stakeholders. We've been joined by John Kapi. He's Head of Public Affairs at WAEC. We also have Mr. Peter Nochu-Kutoi. He's Ranking Member on Parliament's Education Committee. Let me start with John Kapi. Good morning, John. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. Let me see if we have Mr. Nochu-Kutoi also with us. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, gentlemen. So let me start with you, John Kapi. We understand that about 35 million Ghana cedis was released, and which is what facilitated the conclusion of the marking, and now you've released the results. But I want you to tell us what really is going on. Give us a pin on everything that's happening so far in terms of the results cancelled, the ones that results have been withheld, the annulment, and then we can talk about the debts later. What's going on?
So, first of all, we have been able to work out, we've been able to scan the results, we've been able to, the objective cards, we have also released the results. Now, we have these, there are some that have been cancelled. Now, when you look at the cancelled results, normally in council here, what we say is that there are routine cases. So there are 4,108 candidates whose subject results have been cancelled.
Yes.
Candidates who were engaged in malpractices in the course of the examination, they were picked up, they confessed to the offense, and so that is the reason we've gone ahead to cancel those subject results. Now, for those whose entire results have been cancelled, the rule is that if you possess a mobile phone in the examination hall, your entire results will be cancelled. So these are for mobile phone infractions. Now, for those whose results have been withheld, either subject results or entire results, these are reports that have come to us from our examiners, those who are marking the papers. They observed in the course of marking that, for example, for the subject results, some candidates colluded, some people shared some information. And so these we would have to take a second look at and then give the candidates a hearing before we would go ahead and take a decision. Now, for those whose entire results have been withheld, these are areas where we have received information that some things happened. And these have been confirmed by our examiners. And so, again, we would have to take a look at them and invite the candidates here, or we go to wherever they are and then have them also tell us their side of the story before we go ahead and take any decisions.
Mr. Kapi, so, I mean, the results are already coming in late. When do you intend to give these candidates a hearing? As soon as possible, I hope. Do you have a date in mind?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that we've come to this level, but then we are recalling staff. Again, this has been a very turbulent year for us. Rather than report on the 6th, we are starting on the 3rd, just so that we can expedite action on these withheld results. And then if there's nothing that we find incriminating, we release them so that the candidates will proceed with their academic pursuits.
Is there any financial constraints that would affect these processes that you're embarking on, starting on the 3rd? Do you need money? Do you have it already? What's the money bit? How's the money bit looking?
Well, usually what happens is that when we are done with our scrutiny over here and we need to meet with the candidates, we choose to go closer to them. So we go to our regional offices, and that is where we have these interactions with the candidates. And of course, I mean, for officers to travel, you've got to take care of their per diem, their hotel accommodation, all of that. So those also have financial implications. And so really we would need some financial assistance to be able to go ahead with this particular exercise.
Does that mean you do not already have the funds to go on with this exercise?
Well, as for funds, you may have to curtail one end in order to carry out another. Sometimes you realize that, well, this is quite urgent, so why don't we put this other on hold in order to be able to do this? We have done that over the period, and maybe that is what we are going to apply. I'm not saying that is exactly what's going to be done, but I mean, taking a cue from things that have happened in the past, it is possible that we would have to put a few things on hold in order to have this done quickly and then release the results.
Does that also mean that the 35 million cedis has already been expended and there's nothing left out of that installment that was paid to you? I believe on the 25th of December, was it?
Yeah, so on the 25th of December, there was a release of 35 million Ghana cedis that we have in our accounts. But, unfortunately, I'm not the spending officer, so it will be difficult for me to tell specifically. Right. But then we had listed a number of things that we needed money for. We needed to expand our bandwidth. Yesterday, we had a few challenges, but we've been able to solve those challenges. So we have uploaded the results. We've got our technicians. Fortunately, they've done the job for us. We've been able to pay them, so they are no longer holding us ransom. But then if there are any other things that money was used for, that I will not be in a position to tell right now unless I have a discussion with the Director of Finance. Okay.
Before I go to Mr. Peter Nochukutoy, would you say that the debts owed WAEC had anything to do with the situation we have now, the cancelled results, the withheld results, the malpractices that was featured during this examination? Would you say that the debt that was owed WAEC and their inability to actually move on with the procedures smoothly had anything to do with the results we're seeing right now?
Well, yeah, remotely, because we could not deploy the number of monitors that we wanted to deploy because we realized that monitoring is a problem, and so we usually would engage privately trained monitors to go around. Unfortunately, we could not get them to to go to all the places that we wanted to go to because of budgetary constraints. So yes, it has had an effect on the issues that have come up with examination malpractices. But then largely I would say that our inability to keep our machines working and be able to meet our deadlines has been one big shot on us, and we wish that does not happen in the future.
Thank you. Please stay with me. Let me go to Mr. Peter Nochukutoy now. Sir, you are ranking member on Parliament's Education Committee, and I've heard you talk about WAEC's debt and the issues that fell out of that. Now, Mr. Kapi is saying that in parts the debt affected the results we are seeing right now. What do you make of all this?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners and viewers. Let me use this opportunity to congratulate WAEC on their efforts and all that they have done to release the results, although a couple of days behind the scheduled date. It wasn't their fault, since the fault was that of government. If they had received all their monies before the commencement or the examination or in the process, I am sure they would have been able to make it on the targeted date of the 9th December. So my congratulations to them. They have really shown that given their resources, they can do their best. And that we want all the states, that all the states should be resourced at the very critical time that they needed their funds. This is because at the end of every year, Parliament approves money for various agencies, and WAEC no exception. WAEC has programs that are time-bound, and if monies are not released at the critical time that it is needed, it affects their performance. And that's exactly what we have seen this year. For a couple of years now, release of funds to WAEC has become a headache, and we have to be talking before money are released piecemeal, and I don't think that is the best. Now, I am very sure that the delay in releasing funds has affected the results, because they needed money to go to the field to carry out the investigation and a lot of things. Money has not come. So how do they go about it? So for me, they have released the results. But going forward, they will still need time and money to do whatever is important for them to come out with a very credible resource. I am not saying what they have done is not credible, but if they had their time, money, or the resources, I think some of the calculations, they could have even resolved them before coming out with the provisional resource. But I urge them to continue the good work that they are doing, so that they can get those issues resolved as quickly as possible, so that candidates who are not affected or who unfortunately are affected can get their results released to them, so that they can continue with their tertiary education if they are given the opportunity.
Mr. Nachukuto, what do you know about, or what explanation do you have as a ranking member on Parliament's Education Committee about why there's a delay in payment of the remaining, I think, so far they've paid 58 million. So that should be about half of what's actually owed. What do you know about why they haven't actually paid everything yet in full?
Oh, I know very well that every budget year, we give approval to various sums of money for various agencies, and WAEC is no exception. We sit down with them, we calculate how much a student or a candidate will pay for the BECE or the WASE. And the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, they are all there with the committee members and the officials of WAEC. We have done that several years now. So when we all agree that this is going to be the examination fee payable by candidates, and government says, I am going to pay, what is important is that government must release the money. So the delay is as a result of government's inability to release funds to them. We know that candidates from private secondary schools, they pay the full cost for the examination. There's no subsidy from government for them. And I can tell you that all the preparatory work that are done by WAEC in releasing the results, in making sure that they register the candidate for examination, WAEC spends on fees paid by private candidates. So if no candidate has paid as a private candidate, WAEC would have found it very, very difficult to even go through the registration process. And that is not good enough for us. I feel that the Ministry of Education have not prioritized WAEC in its disbursement activities. So I will urge that going forward, WAEC given that opportunity, that they are resourced at the time that they need money, so that we don't experience this type of delay going forward and backward. We don't experience it again.
Right. And please stay with me. Let me just put out that we do want to understand how the late release of the results, how is it affecting parents and students? So we're opening the phone lines now. You can call us and let's get interactive. Tell us how you, what you make of all of this. Now let me go to Mr. Kapi. As we speak, how much do you need to proceed with the remaining part of the process? You talked about giving these candidates who've been affected a hearing, and I believe that would mean going to various parts of the country and all that. I know you are not a financial spokesperson, but do you know how much you need? Although you are owed a substantial amount of money, but how much out of that would you need to be able to conclude on the process?
Well, I think that maybe a couple of hundreds of thousands would do, because we deploy them everywhere across the country, you know, so I cannot give a specific figure. I've never actually worked on this myself, so it's just conjecture. I do not have any specific response I can give to that. But obviously, a couple of hundreds of thousands should suffice. Okay,
and so as we speak, the total debt owed you stands at what?
For WAEC, there's an outstanding debt of 58 million Ghana cedis. And for BEC, there's an outstanding debt of 4.9 million Ghana cedis.
Okay. Thank you. Now, do you know, have you any of the effects of this late release of results come to your attention? Do you know how it's affecting students, parents all over the country?
Well, I have picked up some signals from some parents who were actually waiting, and especially when the University of Ghana indicated the 3rd of January as a deadline for them to upload whatever their results are. I realize how people are running all over the place to ensure that they get their admissions, their applications to the universities. I have a few colleagues of mine over here, including my very self, who are also doing everything possible to get our awards, gain admission into the universities.
Thank you. Mr. Achikutoye, so going forward, I mean, the government is changing, should I say. The new administration is coming in. What are your expectations in terms of what they can do to change the narrative in terms of money owed WAEC? And even this morning, we had stories about caterers under the free school feeding program who also owed some money. But I want to focus on the incoming administration. What are your expectations of them, Mr. Achikutoye?
Come to that. When Parliament was in session about 2 weeks ago, I made a statement on the floor, which was admitted by the Speaker. And the Minister was asked to appear before the House and then explain to us what was the cause of the delay in releasing money to WAEC and what he was doing to make sure that the various sums of money owed WAEC was released. As we speak now, he did not turn up within the 24-hour period given to him. So when Parliament resumes on 2nd January, I'm going to raise the issue again so that the Minister is brought before the House.
Thank you
the 58 million Ghana cedis that is left will demand information on it. If government will be able to pay before the handover, I know of the BEC about 4.9 million, which is also in arrears. So in effect, it's about 63 million. What are they doing about it? So I'm going to raise that issue or those issues when Parliament resumes on 2nd January. Now, moving forward, there's a need for prioritization of education and resourcing of educational institutions and organizations that work for this country. And I can assure you that these issues of non-release of money, go here, go there, will not occur in the new administration. We are going to engage stakeholders as quickly as possible. What is the way forward? How do we resolve these issues? The school feeding program, the free senior high school, and critically WAEC. Are we sure we are helping WAEC to do what is expected of it, so that internationally certificates awarded by WAEC will compete favorably with other institutions overseas that also organize similar examinations. Okay. So let this government hand over, but I urge them to clear all these arrears. Because they have released so much money to other institutions. If they have not done that to the Free Senior High School Secretariat or the Ministry of Education, they should do so before the 7th so that they can clear their arrears to WAEC to enable them also pay their creditors. I know they owe their creditors so much, so that we can start on a clean sheet.
All right. So now let's get on the phone with Emmanuel. He's calling us all the way from Kumasi. Emmanuel, good morning. You're on the AM show. Are you a parent? How is the latest results that have just been released? How is it affecting you? Speak to us.
Good morning, City, and good morning to your cherished listeners and the viewers. Yeah, it really affected me because right now I don't even know whether my child can get admission to the university. So 2 things for me. That I want Mr. Kapi to respond to the issue of withheld doors because my son is in one subject health. I don't know how to deal with going forward. And then the second thing is, please, the media, can you out the university in terms of the late release of results and the fact that admission is almost over? What should parents do? Because if they don't get admission now, then it means the children have to stay home for another 1 year, which is going to affect us. You are going to feed him or her for 1 year. So can the universities help us understand the way forward if the media can reach out to them for us? Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
And Emmanuel is talking about admission and how soon we can resolve the issues about the results that have been withheld. Mr. Kapi, is there any special arrangement between you and the universities in terms of how you can facilitate or ensure that those who are looking for admission can still get admitted, even though the results are only now being released?
For the universities, they are able to access the results anytime they want it. They usually will pay and then download the results directly from our system. The delays, each time that we realize that there's no merit in any of the allegations, we upload them so that in subsequent downloads they will be able to access the results of those that were not released early enough. So that is the only system that we have for now, that each time that we are able to upload, they are aware, and so they can further download and then see if those people who have applied have had their results released, and they go ahead and offer them admission.
Okay, I want us to talk about some noticeable trends in subject performance, but let's speak to Francis in Kumasi first. Francis, good morning. You're on the AM show. Talk to us.
Good morning, madam, and good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners.
Good morning,
my
Francis.
issue is on the withholding of the results. My niece results has been withheld. Let's say about 5 or 6 subjects of the exams has been withheld, and I don't know why. This guy has to resume school and we have to seek admission for them. Yes, this result has been withheld. Let's say English, mathematics, and integrated science. All these subjects have been withheld. So how do we get admission for them? And how long is it going to take for these results to be released?
Well, Mr. Kapi, thank you, Francis. But Mr. Kapi was explaining that some of the results were withheld or suspected offences. But he's here. He can respond to that bit. Mr. Kapi, before we move on to the noticeable trends in this result, could you just reiterate for clarity why these results were withheld, why those were cancelled, and all the the necessary nuances in there?
Right. So the examiners in the course of marking would have observed that these certain responses run through all the scripts of candidates, and there's similarities and sometimes word for word, even sometimes the same spelling mistakes and so on and so forth. So these are some of the things that would cause them to say they suspect that something untoward happened. Now, so they report these things to us, and we do not react based on those allegations. We need to ascertain for ourselves that indeed this happened, and then we provide the opportunity for the candidates also to respond that, okay, this is what happened, or they deny whatever it is that we allege would have happened at the examination centers. So that is why I mentioned earlier that we are making plans to recall staff by the 3rd of January so that they can expedite action on some of these results that have been withheld. And if there's any merit in that, okay, fine, then we would invite them to come and answer questions. If there's no merit, we go ahead and release them. And of course, once we release, the universities are notified and they can download the results appropriately.
Right. So
I just want to add that we should also speak with our wards to learn to do independent work. You see, these are things that you probably would not think have consequences. But at the end of the day, here we are, parents are, apprehensive. The wards do not tell the truth when they get back home until they are faced with the issues, So we should advise our children that when they go out there, they should do independent work so that once results are released, they can, pick up their results. That is what you have been able to do based on what you know.
Let me stay on that point and ask, so how confident should the public be in the integrity and fairness of this year's results then?
Well, as far as we are concerned, we have done what our system requires us to do. The candidates have written, examiners have marked. The ones that needed to be cancelled were cancelled because we identified those infractions. The examiners have indicated to us that this thing has gone wrong here, that has gone wrong there, do further investigation. So, on our part, we have been able to do what we should do. And we think that we have done a good job. So for this one that have been withheld, we are still going to work on them and ensure that if they deserve the results, why not?
Okay.
We issue them out there to them.
All right. Please hold for me. Let me speak to Alfred from Navrongo. Alfred, good morning. How is the results that have just been released affecting you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Alfred. Alfred, go ahead. We can hear you. Listen to me directly, not on the TV set, Alfred.
I said that my daughter. Okay. What I said is that my daughter, just one of her papers have been withheld, and now, please, we know the universities are waiting for them to upload their results. So please, I want to ask, when will this problem be solved? And can they go further to upload their results in this, please?
Okay, Alfred, they're working on it. Mr. Kapi was just telling us they're working on it. But thanks for calling. So, Mr. Kapi, were there any noticeable trends in subject performance that stands out for this year? For instance, maybe decline or improvement in core subjects like mathematics and science. Do you want to walk us through the trends?
Right. So each year we do a comparative analysis of the past 4 years. What we realize is that this year, as compared to last year, there has been an improvement in the performance of candidates in core mathematics. But then in English language, integrated science, and social studies, their performance has dipped. So that is what we put.
By what margin did it dip?
So, for example, for English language, it has dipped from 73.11 in 2023 to 69.52 in 2024. For inter-science, from 66.82 to 58.77. And for social studies, from 76.76 to 71.53. So for these three core papers, yes, the performance has dipped. But then for core mathematics, at least we've gone up from 62.23 to 66.86%.
Interesting. And what factors do you believe contributed to the performance levels that we are seeing, especially the decline?
Well, for now, it is difficult to tell. Usually we depend on the chief examiner's report to be able to tell what exactly happened. They are able to point out to us the weaknesses of our candidates in the various areas of the examination where there's a need for them to have some bit of reinforcement. And so we expect that in the next couple of weeks, our officers will be done with putting together the chief examiner's report, and then we can tell, what actually went wrong with, the candidates in these papers.
Okay, I don't know if we still have Mr. Peter Nochukutoi with us. I wanted you to give me your overall assessment of performance this year. I mean, with the results that Mr. Kapi have just given us in terms of the decline especially. Do we have Mr. Nochukutoi on the line? Okay, great. Mr. Nochukutoi, I think we just lost Mr. Nochukutoi. All right. We have Samson on the line with us. Samson is calling us from Kumasi. I believe he's also a parent. Samson, good morning. And speak to me on your phone. Don't listen to me through the TV set. What is your issue with the results that's just been released?
Yeah, I'm calling from Maban in the country region.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Kapi was saying we should talk to our children when they come home. You know, our children spend most of their hours in the school. They've got counselors in the school. It is their duty to counsel our children properly so that they don't themselves the risk of accident. So our advice, the counselors in the school should do well, train out for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samson. And Mr. Kapi, so with these results, what does it say about the state of Ghana's education system, especially senior high school?
For now, I think that a lot of work will have to be done, especially in the core subjects, you know. Sometimes, well, these are not things that the council works on directly anyway, but there are some of the people who are teachers and who I've interacted with, and they indicate the numbers and the difficulty of, you know, controlling them such that you're able to impact meaningfully when you are teaching. You know, so that is one of the areas, and I believe that if there are more interactive hours between the teachers and the candidates, it probably would be helpful for them to be able to perform better than they are doing right now.
So in terms of support for students and schools, how is WAEC supporting those who failed these core subjects? If they need to resit their exams, is there any support for them?
So what we've done is that previously when candidates did not do well, they had to wait for the next private exam to resit the papers. But we have been able to introduce a new diet of examination, what we call the WASP PC1. That will be done early next year. That will be in January and February 2025. So when they access their results right now and they realize that probably they need to rewrite or resit one or two papers, we have between now and January 8th for them to visit any cafe, go to our site and register to write the exam in January and February. Besides that, we are going to expedite action on the chief examiner's report so that they read that and they are able to tell where they probably went, you know, wrong, or where they could not answer the questions appropriately. And I believe that will be helpful for them going forward. Is
this common knowledge? Are parents aware of this WASP PC1 in February and March? We have advertised. It's on our website. As I said, I'm going to send another to the results checker site also, just so that parents are able to see them. We've put out banners. We have one in front of the office here. We have one at the exam center at airport. We have also sent out a number of posters that are across the country in our regional offices. So there are also flyers that they are making. I know a lot of people may not have seen them. Yeah. But for the opportunity we get to speak, I'm happy that you've asked me. Don't tell me to pay for the advert anyway. But then we are trying to ensure that at least if they are able to write in January and February, then by the next cycle of admissions, they will be in a position to enter rather than having to wait for another year, you know, which means they probably stay home for 2 years. Right. Great. Again, please hold for me. I have Charles on the line with me. Charles is calling from Tema. Charles, what's the issue? What's your issue with the just released WAEC results?
Okay. Thank you, madam. Yeah, my issue is also the same. Hello?
I can hear you, Charles. Go ahead.
Yeah, my issue is the same with the withheld result. My daughter has 3 subjects withheld. Yeah.
Charles, I lost you there for a second. What did you say?
I said I have the same issue with the withheld result.
Right. Okay.
My daughter had 3 results withheld, and then I am pleading with Mr. Kaki, as he has said that they will fasten things so that they will release their results. I'm begging him to try and do that so that they can get their admission to the schools. Some of our wards, they really lay hard and work hard for their results. So whatever investigation they are doing, I'm begging him to make sure things is fastened so that our wards can enter to the tertiary institutions. That is my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Charles. Mr. Kapi, so those whose results have been cancelled, they can also sit this WASC PC1 exam in February and March?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Once there is you have not been barred for a number of years, you are qualified to sit the exam. It's in January and February.
January, February, great.
Yes.
What are the other qualifications? Let's put all the information out there in terms of the details. What are the qualifications? How much is involved? Do you have to pay for it? Where can you sit the exam?
Okay, so for now, the exams will be taken in our regional capitals because of the candidature. We are not able to go to all the various centers that we usually would do when we have school exams. But then, so the registration is still ongoing. It will end on Wednesday, 8th January.
Okay.
Prospective candidates are requested to visit any WAEC website, registration details, and register at WAEC accredited internet cafes. There are some of them you go, you see the WAEC logo on them. They do registration for us. They have a link with us. So they would do it. The examination will take place from 24th January to 15th February 2025. 24th January to 15th February 2025. So if there are any candidates who would want to better their grades and then gain admission next year, they should take advantage of this particular examination. And I'm sure that they will be in a position to further their education if they are able to do well. Yeah.
Right. And how much is involved for registration and sitting the exam?
The figures are not directly in front of me right now, but they are on the site. So when they visit the site, all of this information will pop up, and then they can tell. You can register for just one subject. You can also register all the 8 subjects. That depends on the individual who is writing the exam.
Okay. Mr. Kapi, just to conclude the conversation, what reforms or improvements would you recommend for WAEC and the broader educational system, to enhance outcomes in the future, so we can avoid these cancellation and withholding of results going forward?
When it comes to examinations, it's a partnership between us and the Ghana Education Service. They would provide for us the invigilators, and we would normally do the the moderating and then setting of questions we print. We have officers who will be in areas where they keep custody of the questions. The only thing we need from our teachers is for them to be vigilant in the examination halls. The children are quite vulnerable, and there are some of them who may have a low self-esteem. And so if they get in there and they feel inadequate and anybody brings anything to them, they think that, well, this is better than what I know. So they pick that up and then they write it. Unfortunately, that affects them. It's not a pleasant thing for us to have to announce cancellation. And it's a lot of work sitting down to scrutinize and to look at the merits of all of this. Now, so if everybody would sit up and do what is right, we would also have less work to do, and this kind of back and forth would no longer occur. So I think that going forward, the counselors we have in the schools should give adequate counseling to the candidates, indicating to them that having done 3 years of senior high school education, you are in a position to write the examination and pass on your own without having to depend on anybody. You sat in the same classroom with other people. You are taught the same thing. Go there and do what your strength can, lead you to do. Leave the rest to WAEC. And that is what I can say for now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kapi. And just, to confirm before you go, starting 3rd January, you'll be engaging the students who've been affected by the cancellation and withholding of results and all the issues that have come up so far, right?
Well, we will begin the preliminary, investigations locally, within our office. And when we are settled with that, we'll invite the candidates, to answer questions. So what we are going to do from the 3rd of January will be to go through the scripts again ourselves.
Right. Okay.
And for some of them that we think the evidence is not conclusive enough, we quickly release the results for them to be able to go to the tertiary institutions of their choice.
We do have to go, but I have a last call and I'll allow it. Please hold for me. Let's listen to Thomas. Thomas is calling from Kumasi. Thomas, what's your issue?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm really calling from Italy. I have an issue with WAEC. WAEC, they have been reporting them with people that involved in examination malpractices. They even caught some people red-handed. And before you realize those people are set free, we have never heard some people being jailed because of examination malpractice. And this thing keep on going. And students, they see it to be normal. But that is to why if they are able to prosecute these people, these examination malpractices will reduce. And my advice to parents that if your ward is going to write exams, just warn the ward against this examination malpractice. I had my ward. I warned him seriously against that. I said, when you see foreign material, throw it away. Never try to copy from a friend, not to send any foreign material inside. Because when you are caught and your paper is cancelled, I will never come in to support you in education. And those he performed well. But why have to sit up? Why officials, most of them collide with teachers and the students' kids? How come that you set questions and the questions leak? So why? I think the way forward is to set another examination body that will make it competitive. When it becomes competitive, why it will sit up? Because they are now a more or less monopolistic entity, they feel that whatever they do, the public will take it. But when it becomes competitive, then they will know that if we don't sit up, the other one or the other entity will take all our students away. Then things will then move on as Ghanaians want.
Right. Thank you so much, Thomas.
I think we have to look at that one seriously. And I recommend something like ICA. There's no way.
Thank you so much, Thomas from Kumasi. Mr. Kapi, I'll give you about 10 seconds if you want to respond to that.
I'm happy that he advises people to ensure that they desist from, engaging in examination malpractice. Reports that have come to us, people that we have arrested, we have ensured that they've been prosecuted. You see, sometimes they meet people from the GES and they assume they are WAEC officials. Because in the course of exams, GES officials also go out.
Right.
We also have our monitors who are out there. So I'm not sure that any WAEC official worth his salt would want to sit down and watch somebody misbehave and go scot-free. So, well, I cannot dispute that unless, the evidence is in front of me. But then they should continue to assist us to ensure that we are able to do the right thing. The issue about a rival examining body, fine, it's an open market. So if there are plans for anyone to establish a rival examining body, why not? They are limited to do so.
Right. Thank you so much, John Kapi. John Kapi is head of public affairs at the West African Examination Council, and he joined us to put in perspective the fallout from the results that have just been released. And just to reiterate, students who failed or whose papers have been cancelled can reset their WASP PC1, which is an examination that they're doing to help students still transition, and it's starting on the 24th of January to the 15th of February. So go to their website and register if you fall in that category so you can resit the exam and make your way to the university. Well, there's still so much coming your way around the world and across Ghana's 16 regions. This is the AM show with me, Sweetie Abochi. When we return, we'll be having some end-of-year conversations, and we want to invite you into the conversation as well. So we'll be populating a Zoom meeting ID and passcode. You can join. We are looking for highlights for the year, the biggest stories that made waves that caught your attention, and really lessons learned from 2024 and how it will shape your year 2025, which begins tomorrow. We'll be back. Check our social media platforms for the meeting ID, but we'll also put it here when we return from the break. We'll be right back.